Hello, everybody. I'm back for another movie review, and with the release of Evil Dead Rise coming out this weekend, I figured it's the time I decided to take a look at all the Evil Dead movies. And even though I do have the all three seasons of Ash vs. Evil Dead on Blu-ray, unfortunately, I'm gonna exclude that for now because I'll do that in another review eventually. But for now I could just talk about all four of these films right away in one review, but I'm gonna do them all individually. So we're gonna start obviously with the one that started it all, The Evil Dead. The Evil Dead is a independent horror film that came out back in 1981, and it was the directorial debut of Sam Raimi. Evil Dead is basically, well, don't really have to say much about the film because this movie is like worldwide known among horror fans. This is like one of the most iconic, and like when it comes to horror films, this is like one of the top tier horror classics. And was also the film that got me into the world of horror, even though I've seen other things before that. Like, I watched, a lot of things. Like, Child's Play, I watched it when I was, 6 years old, and that was one of the first horror films I ever saw. But Evil Dead was what really got me interested in the world of horror because, like I said, it piqued my interest that much. Basically, the story is simple. It's basically about five teenagers who basically go out to a cabin in the woods for vacation time to relax, and they stumble across a tape recorder that basically plays an incantation that ultimately resurrects demons that begin to possess the kids one at a time, and they're ultimately forced to combat each other, literally. So that's pretty much the gist of the film. I mean, yeah, it's one of those movies where this is a movie that, for most people, the title alone, yeah, it does kind of say a lot, but at the same time, it's like you really have no idea what you're in for when you see this movie. Evil Dead is basically, like I said, this was practically the brainchild of Sam Raimi and Rob Tapert, the producer. And of course, Bruce Campbell, its main star, was one of the executive producers on the film, but this is really mainly the brainchild of Sam Raimi. So basically, this film spent the latter part of 4 years trying to get this thing made, and he even made a couple of small, low-budget movies to basically make up the money he needed to get this thing made. Like one of them was called, there was one called Within the Woods, and there was one called It's Murder, where, yeah, basically those short films were actually made to help finance this movie, which had a budget of, I don't know, about maybe 350 grand or something like that. And of course, the cabin in the movie, by the way, the one they actually filmed, was actually in the middle of nowhere, where they actually filmed it. Unfortunately, the cabin does not exist. I think it's mentioned in one of the commentaries that it's either Bruce Campbell or Sam Raimi mentioned that the cabin was actually burned down. It burned down a year or two after they shot the movie. So, yeah. There's a lot I can say about this film that hasn't already been said. Way too much. I mean, the movie may have gone on to become a memorable favorite among fans, but of course, making the movie was a total nightmare. It was, the filming conditions were terrible. They were originally going to film up in Michigan because they actually found some good locations for up there, but then when winter was coming and they thought Michigan was actually going to have a cold winter because, up further north, so they decided to vacate south too, and they found the cabin down somewhere in Tennessee, and that's where they decided to shoot Evil Dead at. But unfortunately, during winter, Michigan ended up having one of the mildest winters that year, and Tennessee had one of the coldest. So yeah, and the cabin was in a pretty miserable shape when they found it, so. Obviously, the film made a star out of Bruce Campbell. As for the other actors in the film, the only other one that, Ellen Samwise, who played Cheryl in the film. In fact, that's her right there. Yeah, she later becomes one of the Deadites. Yeah, she too had history working with Sam Raimi. In fact, she worked with Sam on several. Well, Sam Raimi had Well, yeah, he worked in films. Well, yeah, he did a lot of like theater stuff in school, and that's where obviously he met up with Bruce Campbell, and Ellen Samwise worked on a lot of projects with him in the past. As for the other three, I think they were just handpicked. Now Betsy Baker, I think that's her real name, but these other two, these are like pseudonym names, like Sarah York. Her real name's Teresa Tilly. Hal Delrich, I forget the guy's real name, but I think yeah, in the documentaries and stuff, I can't remember if he was interviewed or not, but Joseph LaDuca, who would go on to become a regular of Sam Raimi. He scored all the Evil Deads for Sam Raimi except for the remake, I think. He also scored Hercules: Legendary Journeys, which Sam Raimi was worked on as executive producer, and yeah, he went on to be involved with a lot of stuff. Tom Sullivan, who was the makeup effects artist, who also did all the Deadite work, and also was the creator of the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, as well as the Skull Dagger. And before I get into talking about the Blu-ray here, I actually have another special treat. I actually have, well, this was actually the Book of the Dead DVD edition of Evil Dead. Fortunately, the DVD is no longer in here. I've since gotten rid of it, and yeah, as you can see, the book has seen better days. It's like it was supposed to be like sort of like rubber foamish, but it's starting to dry up and it's starting to crack. As you can see, the foam coming out on the side there. But honestly, I think this adds to the charm of the book because every time I open it, it kind of gives it a like crackling feel. And of course, Tom Sullivan, who by the way I met in real life at a film convention, really cool guy by the way, and was actually a fun guy to talk to because he had a lot of great things to say about Evil Dead and all all this artwork is basically what you see from the Book of the Dead in the movie, which is pretty cool. So yeah, he did all these illustrations, which is pretty impressive. Yeah. Oh, whoops. Oh, sorry. A little piece of it came off, but yeah. Like I said, it's seen better days, but I don't know why. I kind of like the condition the book's in right now, but yeah. But yeah, honestly, it does add to the charm. The thing is meant to be disgusting and repulsive looking, but it just shows how much of a work of art this thing really is. So that's pretty neat, actually. Anyway, on to the movie. Like I said, Evil Dead was ultimately released in, well, its release date is kind of odd because there are some websites that listed as 1981. There's some websites that listed as 1983, but for what I've been reading at, the majority of them have actually said 1981 was the actual release year for the Evil Dead. New Line Cinema, from what I heard, picked it up and released it theatrically. The film was unfortunately released with no rating. It was actually released unrated, believe it or not, because there was a lot of stuff in the film that Sam Raimi wanted, but there were some things he unfortunately had to leave out because the film was, I mean, obviously the film did get some criticism for being being too violent and too gory in several ways, but it also being released unrated means that, you know, there are certain movie theaters and certain newspapers that won't run the ad for the movie because, you know, they're not entirely sure, you know, of the content of the movie. So the movie had a very limited theatrical run, but it was still successful nonetheless. It was still a profitable hit. The movie was made with a budget of $350,000, and its theatrical run, the movie grossed a little over $2 million. So again, you know, $350,000 budget, $2 million intake. That's still pretty good, actually, for a low-budget film like this. At the Saturn Awards in 1982, the film did pick up a nomination for Best Low-Budget Film, which it ultimately won. But, although, again, this is a movie where don't expect the theatrical run to get the film popularity, because once it hit home video, that's where the popularity of this film really began to surge. And I've actually owned several incarnations of Evil Dead on any of various home video formats. Like, I've actually seen the movie twice on video. Actually, I've owned 2 copies of the film on video. One was by Anchor Bay, which was the remastered edition, and the other was was an even poorer print, which was made by HBO Canon Video, which some people will actually probably say was the best way to see the movie, was that version, because it really gave the film a much grittier look, and it made you think like, yeah, it's like one of those movies you see on the shelf, and it's like, yeah, this looks interesting. And my grandfather once owned a VHS store, and that's actually how I got my first interest on Evil Dead. It was actually sitting in the horror section. I picked it up. I figured, well, I'm kind of into watching horror films, so, I figured I wanted to get into it. So I watched it, and yeah, I had really no idea what I was in for, but it left me wanting more, to say the least. So that was my first experience with Evil Dead, and then eventually I got the special remastered edition on VHS by Anchor Bay, and then finally I got the DVD. As you see, the first DVD edition I had of Evil Dead was this Book of the Dead edition, which was actually a really good release of the movie, but some people criticized the widescreen format because the movie was originally made in full frame. And the movie has been released on DVD countless times. There was the release by Elite Entertainment, which I've never owned, but I've heard it was really good. And like I said, the Book of the Dead edition was released by Anchor Bay. And Anchor Bay ultimately decided to get it out on Blu-ray for the first time. And I am aware there is a 4K release by Lionsgate, by the way. But I don't own that one, so I do own the Blu-ray, so let's talk about that real fast. Anchor Bay's Blu-ray release is actually, this is actually a really solid, fantastic release of the film, by the way. So, let's get into it here. First of all, the video quality, the movie is actually, there's actually two versions of the film on the disc. There's widescreen, which, the widescreen format was actually supervised by Sam Raimi for the DVD release, because he actually wanted to give the film a more of a theatrical format, like you're actually watching on a flat screen, widescreen TV. And the other version is full frame, which is actually the original ratio the film was shot in was full frame. Last night, I actually decided to watch the full frame version because whenever I watch it on Blu-ray, I usually always go with the widescreen version, but I decided to watch the full frame version. And honestly, the full frame version actually looks really good. And it looks fantastic. A lot of detail that I've never actually noticed before. Yeah, there's also a few things I kind of noticed when I was watching it on Blu-ray. They actually went back and they digitally altered a few things. Like, there's a couple of shots in the movie where I think there's a shot where you can see the car passing the bridge, and if you look to the right, you'll actually see somebody standing there. Now, if you watch it on any of the DVD versions, you actually see the guy, but in the Blu-ray, they digitally altered him out. And I think they did that. So it's almost like Sam Raimi was trying to do stuff that George Lucas did for his Star Wars, for the special edition of all the Star Wars movies. But these are just little subtle things that, it's kind of like, blink and you'll miss it. But I noticed the change, and I'm like, you know what? I really had no problem with that. I mean, if anybody does have a problem, all you got to do is just pick up a DVD version, and boom, you won't have to worry about that anymore. But honestly, I kind of like the subtle changes with the Blu-ray. And there's like other little tiny ones, like I said, I didn't really pick up on because I was just enjoying all the detail that I never noticed in any of the previous versions. The widescreen version is actually not bad either. Is it actually, like I said, it gives you a more theatrical appearance of the film. So anybody that owns the Blu-ray has the option to swap between both wide and full screen. So it's pretty neat. It gives you an interesting look of the film, and both versions actually look look great. I mean, yeah, the grain is still going to be present because, like I said, the movie was actually filmed not with the best equipment, so obviously the film is definitely going to show its age. But given, what Anchor Bay has done with many of their titles, I have to give them really the benefit of the doubt. They did a fantastic job in remastering Evil Dead and restoring it to the best they can do. As I've said, I never owned the 4K version. I don't know how much better it is. From what I heard, the 4K version only presents the film in full screen, not widescreen like the Anchor Bay Blu-ray has here. So I would say out of 5 stars for the video, I would definitely give it a 4.5. I would say probably, both wide and full screen both gets a 4.5. But Honestly, if there's one version of the film that I think offers much better detail, it's definitely the full frame. Full frame has way better detail than the widescreen does. As for the audio, it's only presented in one, actually with two tracks here, Dolby True HD 5.1 and French Dolby Surround 2.0. So obviously the English track is in the HD 5.1 DTS. So honestly, that's the track you're probably going to want to listen to, and it sounds good. A lot of good sound. The dialogue comes out very well. The sound effects are great. It definitely immerses you into the movie very much. So I'd say the audio sounds just as good as it looks. Yeah, there are parts of the audio where, yeah, it gets a little muffled, but then again, you got to give it the benefit. You got to really accept the fact that, again, this is a near 40-year-old movie right now. So, well, when did the Blu-ray come out? 2010, that's when it was released. So yeah, I mean, honestly, the audio track sounds good. So again, can't really complain there. So honestly, out of 5 stars, I'd say 4.5. As for the bonus features, well, honestly, Evil Dead comes jam-packed in a great special limited edition here. Yeah, I am aware that Anchor Bay also released a single disc edition on DVD and on Blu-ray, and as you've noticed here, there's actually 2 discs in here, because when I first got it on Blu-ray, I actually ended up buying the special limited edition release, which actually comes with a bonus DVD, which has additional materials on it. The movie disc, does it have any extras at all? Yeah, just one, an audio commentary. It's a brand new one recorded with Sam Raimi, Rob Tapert, and Bruce Campbell. If anybody is interested, for people that own the Blu-ray, or people are like, where's the commentary at? There is no bonus feature selection on the main menu. If you want to access the commentary, you'll have to go to the settings option, select the audio, and there you'll be able to access the commentary. Yeah, it's one of those discs. A few Blu-rays and DVDs are actually like that, where they advertise the commentary on the back, and there's like no bonus features option on the disc menu. But if you go into the settings and you go to the audio selection, that's where most likely you'll find the commentary. And this commentary is actually newly recorded. It actually has all 3 men talking about the movie and talking about, like, the investing of the film. A lot of the stuff because the one thing I was really disappointed at was the commentaries that were on the previous DVDs, like the Elite Entertainment and the Anchor Bay Book of the Dead edition, and the separate DVD by Anchor Bay. There's 2 audio commentaries recorded, and also the 3-disc Ultimate Edition by Anchor Bay. The commentaries, Rob Tapert and Sam Raimi were separate. Bruce Campbell headlined his own commentary for that. And those commentaries are actually fun to listen to, but unfortunately they're not on this one. But if you want those, you'll probably have to hold on to an older DVD copy of the movie, because Bruce Campbell's commentary is a lot of fun to listen to, as he literally brings up loads of information about the making of the film. And Sam Raimi and Rob Tapert, same thing. They talk about a wealth of information on the making of the movie. This commentary is not too bad, but like I said, I didn't find that this one as informative as the as the original 2 are. But nonetheless, though, it's still worth a listen. But it's kind of more of a technical aspect. Like, they talk a lot about how they got the investment to get the movie made, and they do mention a couple of tidbit things about the movie and all that. And again, it's still an informative commentary, but I still don't think it's as good as the 2 standalone ones that were made before that. As for the additional extras, the bonus DVD actually gets everything else, and it comes with pretty much the majority of the stuff that came from the Ultimate 3-disc edition DVD set. And there's a wealth of extras to be found on here. One by one, we will take you the untold saga of Evil Dead. It's basically this documentary runs almost an hour long, and it's a very comprehensive look at the making of the film, and has interviews with just about everybody that was involved with the movie. So anything you need to know about the film there, that documentary says it all. Evil Dead, Treasures in the Cutting Room Floor, it's basically a bunch of deleted material that was left out of the movie. So that's pretty cool. I think the Anchor Bay DVDs had this stuff. Discovering Evil Dead, it's basically Yeah, it's basically about a little featurette on how they like where the concept came from. Unconventional. I'm not sure what that is. At the drive-in, I guess there was like they had like a drive-in viewing of the film, a reunion panel, basically a bunch of the people that worked on the film, actors and crew, makeup test, obviously with doing the makeup work in the film. And by the way, yeah, the contacts the Deadites were wearing were sclero lenses, like these giant glass pieces of glass that they actually fit over the eye. So basically, they were blind, like you could not see through these things. And of course, you were only allowed to wear them for like maybe up to 15 minutes until you had to actually take them out so your eyes can breathe. I couldn't even imagine how painful that had to be, though. They don't do that anymore. Obviously, we now have like obviously the little plastic like contact lenses that the actors wear. Much more comfortable. Ladies of the Evil Dead meet Bruce Campbell. It's basically like a roundtable discussion of Bruce Campbell talking with the three leading ladies in the film. Book of the Dead, the other pages, which obviously are the other pages that were left out of the book in the original movie, probably were no doubt shown in Evil Dead 2. Still gallery, theatrical trailer, and TV spots. So actually, this is not a bad selection of material. This is actually really good. Now, I don't believe this is everything. I think the Anchor Bay Ultimate Edition DVD has a few additional things that were not included here, but what is included is actually not bad. So overall, Evil Dead, this limited edition release is actually a pretty stellar release of the film. The extras, I would say out of 5 stars, I'd probably give it a solid 5 out of 5. That's how much great material is included here. So, all in all, Anchor Bay did a amazing release of this movie on Blu-ray. They really did. Now, of course, for anybody that owns the limited edition, yeah, you definitely have a heck of a collector's item there because that's the rarity of this sucker. It is very rare. And although the Blu-ray I think the Blu-ray you can still find fairly cheap on Amazon if you were to buy it used. Brand new, I think last I saw was like $30. Yeah, I don't know how much it would be on eBay, but I think the DVD, if you really have to get your hands on Evil Dead, the DVD, I don't know if the DVD versions are still available at a good price, but I might be able to find this movie on YouTube, maybe, I don't know. But given the nature of the film, the gore and the excess load of gore, I doubt YouTube will probably have it on there, but either way, yeah, of course, or you can go to any of the streaming sites like Netflix, Hulu, Peacock and whatnot. It'll probably be on there. But either way, though, if you haven't had a chance to watch The Evil Dead, if you're into horror films, definitely give this one a watch. This movie is like a must-watch, top-tier horror classic. If you can stomach the gore and the violence, which it has plenty of, and yeah, has a couple of suggestive scenes that are a bit difficult to watch, but either way, it's still an entertaining film to look at, and it's a great debut film for Sam Raimi, and the Blu-ray I have here is the top-notch disc. Excellent video, excellent audio, an incredible wealth of extras to weave through. So honestly, all around, highly recommended. Highly recommended movie. So, this concludes the presentation and thus begins the first chapter of the Evil Dead Marathon. And I will continue to do more of these in the days to come. So until then, take care and be safe. Soon, all of you be like me. Then we will lock you up in the cellar!